that our businesses can flourish, etc. Other than that, most of the large expanses of land have already been planned out, and so that's how I feel about that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Query. How can Matthews retain its small town charm in light of a fast growing population?
That's something we've worked on for a lot of years. I think if we can keep our downtown vibrant and keep doing the things we're doing downtown, I think that will help bring the small town feel, because it gives people a place to come to on different days and enjoy what we have downtown, and they see what we have here. And beyond that, I think we just need to keep the downtown moving forward, which John Urban has tried to has revitalized that with the Red Brick Partnership. And I think all we need to do is just keep moving downtown and keeping it vibrant for other people to come down and enjoy what we have here.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Shaw. What is the biggest problem facing Matthews, and how do you begin to solve it?
Well, like a lot of other people, I think the biggest problem here is traffic, but also retaining our character with all this traffic. I'm opposed to this John Street widening project that NCDOT has planned. We need to get these commuters to use 74 and disincentivize them from using our historic downtown as a drive-through to get to work and back home. How do we do that? Well, we work with NCDOT, and I've also talked to the chief engineer, and he's willing to work with the town leaders and do what our town really wants. And I think there's parts of this plan, the NCDOT plan, that are great for our town, that will strengthen our town, just not the widening. There's crosswalks that are part of the plan across John Street, so people can get across John Street without running and dodging cars. There's a multi-use path that runs along the edge of John Street from 45 all the way to downtown. That's wonderful for pedestrian and cycle safety. And the other thing is there's a traffic lights along John Street, which would also have crosswalks, and that would help disincentivize commuters and slow traffic down to keep our downtown safe for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Urban, final question of the evening. There's not one who already has. Mr. Urban, your question is, where should dense housing be located, and should those areas incorporate apartments, upscale townhomes, or other housing?
Well, the market's going to dictate types of housing, but I think we need to be stressing diversity of housing. I think Matthews has started to do that over the last 6 to 8 years. Dense housing should be located, heads-on beds should start in the downtown area. In order to keep the businesses there, to grow, to have other businesses come into town, they need to see the heads-on beds before they'll revitalize downtown. And I think we've done an excellent start with that. But frankly, we're not there yet. And obviously, if anybody knows the history of Matthews, people lived above all those stores. Over time, all those single-story buildings you see in the 100 block were 2 stories tall. We actually had a boutique hotel downtown. They burned and no one rebuilt them again. So 100 years ago, people lived, worked, and played downtown. They didn't have to get in their car and drive. So I think one of the prime areas is doing the infill that Commissioner Miller talked about, the boutique type of apartment projects, condominiums, townhomes, the variety, because the variety gives answers to the workforce housing aspect of things. I think we also have to incentivize developers, you know, if they're allowed to do some different things, they can in turn turn back around and give us some affordable rents for workforce housing as well. So it's a compromised position. Most of the other locations people have already mentioned, yes, along a rail line makes a lot of sense. Obviously, South Boulevard supports that. That growth spurred along South Boulevard because of the rail line, and that's another location. And that's my strategy for dense housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so not to put Mr. Urban back on the spot, we'll start back up at the top for our closing comments. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to talk about their platform, talk about anything that's relevant to their campaign, or to make any comments of some of the other candidates have made. So, Mr. Burke.
Can you hear me? Matthews is a great town. I believe it can be better, and I believe it can be better for all of Matthews, not just the downtown area. I think Matthews is not just our downtown. There's a lot of other places that need some attention. I believe in a town government that's accessible, accountable, and has a comprehensive plan for growth that includes things like affordable housing and walkability and bikeability and increased public transportation. I think we have a beautiful, beautiful town, and we have so many areas that haven't been touched by development that maybe have been planned for the future, but I think we need to work with developers to make sure that we're holding on to some of our green spaces so that we don't just turn into a sea of suburbs. I'm no stranger to hard work. I love a challenge. If you read my bio, I've done a lot, and I've done it for a long time, and I've been good at it. My current job, I called my boss for a reference, and he offered me my job back, and he offered to make it remote so that I could do it from North Carolina because his office is in Florida. And that just speaks to that I'm very good at what I do regardless of what it is. My life and my professional experience has been broad and varied, and I think it gives me a good point to represent all the people of Matthews, from the poorest to the richest, and of every race and religion. And I think the great thing about our town setup, our government setup, is that we don't just have one person running things. We don't just have a board of one. We have a board of 6 and a mayor. And I think that gives us an opportunity to have a board that is made up of people who have new ideas and new perspectives, in addition to people who have experience and have been running the town for a while. And I think that we need that to move
10
forward
seconds.
into the future. Thank you, and I hope you vote for Noah Burke.
Thank you very much. Mr. Crosby.
All right, this is going to be the quickest 2 minutes of my life. First off, I would like to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. It's just so much fun being up here, honestly. I'm pretty young, if not, it's pretty obvious I'm pretty young. And just be out in front of all of you is fantastic, and I appreciate the Chamber for hosting. I'd like to thank my parents, my grandmother, my family for being here. I'm excited there, and I'd like to also thank Paul Bailey, who was gracious enough to I guess throw me a little endorsement. The one thing I just want to get across really quick is this is my home. I've lived here my entire life. I know no other place but Matthews. The success of Matthews is really intertwined with how at least I'm going to succeed in life. I never plan to leave, which is one of the reasons I'm running. I want this town to be great for the foreseeable future, not just tomorrow, not just 10 years from now when we get a big population boom. I want it to be great for your kids, for your grandkids, for my grandkids, way down the road. And because of that, I want to be at the table to make sure, for your insurance policy, if that makes sense, to make sure that this town will be good 60 years from now. And there's a lot of ways we can do that. First off, we've got to make sure we keep a fiscally conservative government so we don't waste your tax dollars. Those tax dollars are incredibly hard earned. Second thing is public safety. It's very important to me. I have a 15-year-old little sister, and I want her to be able to walk into our great parks and walk down our great greenways and not have a care in the world. And the third thing is education. Education is a real passion of mine, and I want to make sure that our kids, your kids and my future kids, will have the best opportunities and the best educational experiences so that they can go out into this world and do great things. And those things, along with quality development and
10 seconds.
and a focus on this town, I believe that we all together can make Matthews great for the foreseeable future, and I hope you vote for Alan Crosby and ask me any questions after this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Mint.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Dement, and I am so honored to have you here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, being a commissioner is a huge responsibility in our town of over 30,000 people. And the people who have the ability to handle that huge position are those with specific knowledge and experience. I have that specific knowledge and experience to fulfill the mission and responsibility of commissioner. Since moving to Matthews over 10 years ago, I've been an involved and contributing citizen. I started by making sure my calendar had the second and fourth Monday night to reserve for town council meetings because I wanted to learn about the town. I wanted to learn about its people, its government, its concerns, its challenges, its vision, and its accomplishments. We have a vision and we have a lot of accomplishments. I also quickly learned that the various boards and committees in town serve as a training farm for elected positions. Just as with minor and major baseball, a farm team has the role to provide experience and training so that players are ready for the majors. 4 years ago, I was appointed to the planning board, and now I'm honored to be the chair of that board. A number of people asked me to run last election, but I said no. I still have a lot to learn before taking on that responsibility. Now I've worked my way through the town's minor league training, and so I'm ready for the major league of representing each of you in this room and 30,000 plus other Matthews residents. I can provide the leadership and direction for our town's future because I know where we've been, I know where we are, and I know where we need to go. My motivation for running in this election started with Commissioner John Higdon when he was running for his first term. I admired his statement that he is not a politician, but instead a public servant.
10 seconds.
Since I've long been inspired by Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" I knew that I had a passion for being a public servant for my hometown and its people. Now I'll ask you to vote for me, Barbara Dement, because it would be my honor to serve you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Fischler.
Thank you. Any one of us can get elected up here, attend the town board meetings, vote yes or no on some of the zoning initiatives, and then go home, feel happy about it. But what real leadership, I believe, requires is to be an advocate for your community, to be there when they need you. When there are families being evicted and the negotiations are happening, are you there to support them? Are you there when 120 folks show up in a room to discuss the NCDOT project that's not at a town hall meeting, but they're organizing and they're concerned? Are you there? Are you listening? Are you offering solutions and options? Are you working with all the regional partners that we have? Because all solutions to the different problems from congestion to growth to education, it's not going to come just from our town. We have to be working with everybody. We don't have large industries either. Considering Matthew's Chamber of Commerce is hosting this, I think we should also look at small businesses and how we're supporting them. What kind of microfinancing are we making available to individuals in our town to continue growing the commerce here? I think we can be more outspoken to the leadership in Raleigh as well. Some folks mentioned the education here. Well, where were we when we got it $400 million from public education in the last couple of years? Because I was in high school when I was watching my teachers get laid off here. And so these are the sort of things that I think we need to be discussing and being loud about and representing, and not just being around and focusing on a few issues that we think are not going to affect us in a couple of years. But we have to be advocates. We have to be a voice for everybody. There's a number of things that we can improve. Talking about the bike plan that was done in 2006 and the pedestrian plan, I've yet to see those in this part of town developed.
10 seconds.
I think we can also incorporate the American Planning Association's plan to work on Tanktown and the history behind it. One of the most historic African American communities that was started here by freed slaves in Matthews. Why don't we talk about that history as well? Let's incorporate all the diversity. Thank you.
Mr. Higdon.
Yes, I'd like to encourage everybody to learn as much as you can about everybody up here and vote for the best.